Okay, hi everyone, so I'm Smithy Q and welcome back. This is game 13 of the annotated game series, Horvath versus Meyer from 1917, over 100 years ago. And we just had a small detour where we were looking through my games when I was younger. We're now going back to games between the masters of the past, and this game in particular, it's complicated. It's hard. The calculation is not easy, and the moves are not obvious. However, I think there's two things we can look at. One, I still think the guiding idea, time is everything, is going to help us at the very least understand the moves, even if it would be difficult for us to actually find them over the board. At least the reasoning is comprehensible. And second, there's a related idea, where if you put your pieces on good squares, good things will happen. Watch how this plays out here. And so, of course, the game starts with e4, e5. We're going to get the Evans Gambit, one of my favorite openings. And if I were to ever make like an opening course, it would be on this. It's just such a fun, um, fantastic, interesting opening. And again, the idea, just in case, again, I believe I explained it before. If this bishop were to have accidentally misclick and go here, allowing us to play c3 and then d4, just absolutely claiming the center, that'd be absolutely fantastic. That's why nobody plays bishop goes to b4. By using the b pawn, we're able to coerce that bishop over, and the idea is we're going to get d4 very, very quickly. The advantage, of course, we've got the center, we're castled, we have open lines. And look at this. Bishop wants to come in, knight wants to come in, maybe the bishop can come over here, stopping castling, queen can come in, the bishop can also go over here. We've got an e-file for the rook. There's just so many lines already. And um, I've always found this position a joy to fun, joy to fun, a joy to play, and a joy to watch. Just look at the games. Let's see what happens. Black is extraordinarily brave. Knight takes e4. This is the best move, right? And so I know that I say that time is everything, and it's true. The center is also extraordinarily important, and so winning a central pawn, if you can do it, is very good. Now white plays rook goes to e1. And this is about the only quote unquote bad move that white plays. Again, this is 100 years ago. The quality of the analysis, the computers show that black is certainly able to survive. But black has to find the right move in this position. And the right move, I probably hinted at it before, is that again, the center is extraordinarily important. And hopefully at this point, you're gluing in on that. E5 is the correct move. You're both protecting the knight, we're hitting this bishop, we're stopping the bishop from aiming at f7, and look, this bishop now has a diagonal. So this move by itself does a heck of a lot. Now, it's still complicated, right? Because if this pawn were to ever take that bishop, then like the knight's hanging, right? It's still messy, white still has a lead in time, but that's the right move for black. Let's look at the wrong move for black. Knight goes back to d6. It's funny how wrong this move is, because it looks like it's doing a lot of things right. It's saving the knight, it's attacking the bishop. After the bishop moves somewhere, you can imagine the pawn's going to shove forward, the knight's going to protect it, and so that means the e-file stays closed. That's pretty good. The knight's also protecting f7, which means there's no bishop takes f7 sacrifices. Black is up 2 pawns. He's just going to castle. Looks good, right? I mean, it's really, I can totally understand why the black player played this back in the day, but it's wrong. Now, how do you combat that? Again, it's the two things. It's time. Time is everything. We want to put our pieces on good squares. We've castled, black hasn't. We have a potential open e-file. We want to go forward. And the other idea that I mentioned a lot in the course, not so much in these videos yet, it's developing with tempo. White plays the absolutely brilliant knockout blow, bishop goes to g5. And we can see one of the problems also when we back up. This knight, it's not those. Frig, here we go. It's controlling, arrows are hard, these two squares. When it retreats, it doesn't, and that lets this bishop come on in. We can see the problem. The queen has absolutely nowhere to go. So the only choice is to either block with the knight or to block with the pawn. I think this is the natural move. I think this is the move that would intuitively discourage us from playing. Bishop goes to g5. Because look, this bishop's hanging, we're already down a lot of material. What do we do? But again, if you put your pieces on good squares, good things happen. And look, we've got e-file action coming in here. And there is a wonderful move, taking on e5. You can't recapture this way. Again, you're going to lose your queen. All right. Now, what can we do? We can take the bishop, or we can take this bishop. Those are the two natural moves. If black does anything else, obviously we're going to crush in. Pawn's going to move. There it is. All right, let's look at maybe taking the bishop. I think that might be the most natural. After all, we just played f6. Do you see what happened now? We're able to move the pawn forward, and now the e-file is decisive. Bishop, absolutely decisive. In the pawns also, like, so you can't even block with the knight, because the pawn's there. After king goes to f8, we simply go queen goes to d5. We're threatening mate here. One more accurate move. The threat here is actually hilarious. We're going to take this with check. Black doesn't really have anything else to do but recapture, and then queen goes to g8 is mate. There's nothing you can do unless you want to throw a spike check in. Fantastic. You put your pieces on good squares, good things are going to happen. Look how got 4 white pieces into the attack, backing up. Okay, so taking the bishop didn't work. What if we take the other bishop? Well, it's very, very similar. The e-file is going to decide. Again, we can take, look at that, open e-file. And now we got a problem. Where's the king going to go? If he goes over here, right to f8, it's really, really simple. We take with check. After he captures, the queen is toast. And there's not much he can do. Like if he tries to go here, it's very simple. We can just force him basically over. Game over. Nice. So this means f6 doesn't work. That's why black in the game played the other move. Knight goes to e7. No immediate tactics, but we can still open the e-file. Not by taking with the pawn, by taking with the knight. We can see there's now a lot of pressure here on f7. What does black do? Black ends up playing f6. And again, just let me sort of back up. Notice how we're bringing another piece into the attack. The knight's clearly going to the best square. And again, backing up, taking advantage of our opponent's last move. When the knight was here, it could always exchange on e5, right? So if white were to play this, you could take that. But by moving the knight back, well, now this knight is living here. Now there's extra pressure on f7. I think there's 3 natural moves for black. There's f6, like was played in the game, attacking 2 different pieces. Makes a lot of sense. We could take the bishop, or we could just castle. Let's start with castling. Makes sense, getting the king safe, but we're not actually safe, are we? Again, we have such a huge lead in time. Our pieces are going forward. Black has been reacting. Now is the time to cash in. If a sacrifice works, if a breakthrough works, then that's game. Knight takes f7. Hitting the queen, and we're threatening a terrible discover check. Right? So black doesn't have time. Like, he can't even move the king anywhere. If he moves the queen, right? Check. Boom. That's not working. So he has to take. And now here is the nice little, oh my goodness. We take on e7. The rook can't recapture because it's pinned. Bishop is protected by the thing. And so the only move for the queen is to move over here. We now take the knight. Again, the queen has no good squares. We take this guy. We throw in a check. And it's mate in 5, says the computer. Even this bishop is hanging. Black is being eviscerated. He's already down a rook. So castling just completely loses to the sacrifice on f7. Okay, so this bishop was really important in the attack. What happens if black were to grab it? Do we just immediately recapture? No. Again, we want to be looking and using our pieces. We want to be able to go forward. If we didn't have anything better, then we take. Of course, we'd recapture. But we want to check, is there something else? What are the advantages? We've got 2 active, actually a 3rd active piece, that e-file. There's so much pressure. We're going to take on e7, of course. There's no good recapture. If he takes back with the king, we can move the knight. It's check, hitting the queen, and that's game. If he takes the queen, now we can recapture, and the queen is lost. So taking the bishop doesn't work. Castling doesn't work. There's one last move, f6. White's got 2 pieces attacked. What do we do? I'm hoping at this point, again, we don't want to panic. What should our thought process be? We want to be using our strengths, right? All this time, we've been focusing on time. He has a king in the center. Center is wide open. So we should be going again into that tactics finder mode. How can we go forward and basically attack? What moves light up? The move we really want to play is queen goes to h5. But then there's always g6. And it's a little bit messy. Queen h5 is a great move, but we can make it a stronger move. How can we stop g6? What if there's no g6 pawn? He took on f6 to allow queen goes to h5. I think this is probably the hardest move to understand. Um, hardest move to sort of see in advance. At least that was for me when I was analyzing this game. But the idea, again, we want to be able to open lines up. The pawns are protecting black. If there are no pawns, our pieces are just going to sweep him away. After take, if you can see queen goes to h5, he can't castle anymore. He can't block with the knight. Obviously, that's just checkmate. So he has to move. Queen goes to h6, forcing him right back. Our queen is needling in. And then knight goes to g6, a real showman's touch right here. And again, I'm not going to say these moves are very easy to find. I don't think they're very intuitive either. But, again, you put your pieces on good squares, and good things are going to happen. And I think knight g6 is one of those moves that just optically, it looks impossible. It's protected by two different things. But this pawn is pinned. It's like that pawn doesn't exist. And this knight is pinned. So in fact, this knight is simply forking this rook and this knight. And so once you can see that, once you are cognizant of the pins that black is under, all of a sudden this move actually starts lighting up. And then the threat isn't even necessarily just take the rook. It could be to simply move this queen in. So, for example, if black were to finally take this bishop, he always has the option to take that bishop, and it's always wrong. We can slide the queen in, and the problem is there's no good way to defend the rook, right? Like normally you do this. Nope, that's checkmate. All right, you want to do something like this. Like it's still checkmate because of the pin, and so there's actually nothing you can do. And if you were to take the knight, this gives you the escape square, but you lose the queen. So do we see again, putting your pieces on good squares lets good things happen? By having the queen sneak all the way in right next to the king, um, black he fell apart. I want to say self-destruct, but it's not self-destruct. The foundation was cracked long before. So backing up. Knight goes to g6. What else? So we can't take the bishop. We can't ignore the queen. How can we stop g7? Black ended up playing knight goes to f5, which again makes a lot of sense. Protects g7, hits the queen. Maybe the queen's going to move somewhere, and the knight also defends the other knight. So we got some good players, right? Like black's moves, they make sense. It's just he's always been on the back foot. White plays lovely. He brings the queen back to h5 again, threatening that discover check, and it's keeping the queen very close to the king. Not an easy move to see, but once you see it, I think it makes a lot of sense. Black then plays knight goes to g7. Trying to maybe the knight's going to come here to close the e-file. Obviously, the knight is trying to gain time, so that way there is no discovered attack. And now here, one final little combination. This one is especially pretty in my eyes. And again, you go into this by not immediately making the obvious move. The obvious move is to move the queen because it's attacked. But the better move, or that is the better thought process, is to think, I got such a lead in time, his king is so vulnerable, what can I do? Or is there a tactic? Because if there is, you win the game. We know it's checks, captures, threats. We've got two logical checks. Something like this. We also have the bishop f7. Bishop f7 is just absolutely brilliant. After take, we now are able to move this knight, and it's double check. Again, if we were to back up, if we were to just move the knight like this, it's only a single check, black can take the queen. Oh, that's not very good. By doing this first, now it's the double check. Oh shoot, king moves forward, knight comes back, sealing all the squares off, and that's checkmate. Holy cow, what a rush. Now, do I expect you, especially if you're that adult beginner improver, to be able to see all of this? No, no. Is it understandable? Do we see how Black essentially made one wrong move? Again, Black played very well this entire time. It was just this moving the same piece multiple times in the opening, grabbing a pawn, opening lines up. There's only one refutation. And the refutation is, again, I'm not going to say it's not simplistic, it's not easy, but I think it's understandable. We want to use that time factor. We go bishop goes to g5. All of our pieces are active. We're just continually putting our pieces on good squares. Look at this. E file is now open. Now, do we have to calculate? Yeah, you've got to calculate because there's a lot of hanging pieces. Look, bishop is hanging. If the knight moves, the bishop is hanging. Both these pieces are hanging. We're already down pawns. So you can't just play the average normal move. But I think we can see how if you're focusing on using the time, that you're focusing on how can I cash in? How can I go forward? How can I make my opponent do problems? How can I put my pieces on good squares and then use those pieces? Hopefully, these ideas, if they don't, they might not jump out, but they're understandable. Let's open the position for a big check. Oh, let's bring the knight in, taking advantage of all the pins in the position. And then here at the final step, we have so many pieces into the attack. Is there a finale? And there is just a beautiful, fantastic, amazing, life affirming game. Absolutely love this one. This is like a true masterclass. And this is why you should play openings like the Evans Gambit, because it gives you chances to play and get masterpieces like this. So, again, it's not easy. Um, but again, I'm hoping it's understandable. And the more that you can understand, the more you immerse yourself in the sea, the more familiar you'll get, and you'll eventually be able to swim on your own, if I continue that analogy. This might be my favorite game in this entire section. But it's only game 13. You've got 12 more, 11 more. I'll see you in the next ones. So I'm Smithy Q. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Bye for now.